Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars and, well, off in Auto House of Naples, but not today because I have another one from Andrew. Andrew of Auto Europa service, if you will. You know, Marty and I did Auto Europa sales for a while, but it fell through because Marty just didn't. You know, his heart just wasn't in it. Marty was too busy dating really unappealing women and searching around for some kind of a life that he's obviously never going to find. And as a result, it just didn't go very well. So we kind of closed it down and I moved on. This is old news now. And that said, I'm, schooling along at Auto House of Naples where Peter was when I went there, but of course he sold out because Peter has this real penchant for destroying my life. It's just something he really likes to do, and he did it for like the second time a couple of years ago, so that's great. I'm so happy. I really am. And here I am in Peter's driveway having the time of my life doing this SL for Andrew and wondering what the hell. Sometimes you just have to decide between homicide and suicide, but I'm still working on that one. Could be both. We'll see. And we'll see the way that goes. Animal front, I don't know. It's been very quiet, but there's shitloads of birds tweeting around me, and I don't trust them, and I don't know what's going to happen. And with any luck, then leave me alone. Weather has been bad, pretty terrible, to be honest. Humid, hot, tropical sun, all the stuff that I hate coming in full force. But it looks like we're getting a little bit of a reprieve this weekend. We've got a cool front of sorts coming through. I thought the last one we had was going to be the last of them, but apparently this is now going to be the last of them. So believe me, I'll take it. I'm thrilled. I'm very happy to have it. So I feel in my pocket a phone call coming in, so bear with me a minute. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, sorry about that. That was, again, Dalton. He found the pen the last time when he called in a desperate kerfluffle to find a pen. This time he needed to find a rag, so I think I found one for him, and hopefully he's going on about his day. But anyway, I don't even know where the hell I was, and it doesn't matter. I think weather, I'm going to enjoy this little bit of a cool front, and then it's over, and then the shit weather of July and August and June, it's all on the way, and it's coming, and it just makes me absolutely miserable. So we'll just have to put up with that. And there are birds going nuts in that tree right there. Now he's over there where the goats used to hang out, which, of course, the goats were killed by Peter. He won't admit it, but I'm sure that's what happened. But look, anyway, because this video is to help Andrew sell this car, and it's going to go to one of these internet auction sites, I think it's going to be Cars and Bids, we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to make this a very, very short and quick video on a Silver Arrow. Then this is kind of a blast for the past for me. I know I haven't done a video in a little while. I apologize for that. It's just life has been so busy sucking that I haven't had a chance, and the cars that are coming in aren't quite ready, but that is changing, and we're going to have some fun stuff coming up soon. In the meantime, just to get one up this week, this has worked out very well. Andrew needed this thing photoed and videoed for Cars and Bids. Andrew looks after me in the repair shop sometimes, so I figured, what the hell, I'm going to do it for him, and here it is. And it'll be like a little blast from the past. This was the kind of car that I kind of basically cut my teeth on when I started in good faith and happiness doing YouTube videos, but before I turned into a miserable old bastard. This was the kind of stuff I did and enjoyed because, of course, I was in with all the, the Auto House, the Auto Europa, the European car stuff. Even if that wasn't my original love, I certainly do love Mercedes products, always have, always will, despite them. And, it's nice to be able to sort of get back and do one again. So let's just jump right into it. This is a 2002 Mercedes-Benz SL 500 Silver Aero. The Silver Aero is the special edition part of this car. This was the last year of this car, '02. It had been going on for a very long time, the R129, which is what, Mercedes geeks refer to chassis numbers. These cars, this SL, this generation, is the R129. And it came out in 1990 in the United States. It was designed by a pretty famous guy named Bruno Sacco, one of Mercedes-Benz great historical designers. And, you could say it was a bit of a masterpiece for him, although, it's like calling Renoir. Saying he has. He has a bunch of masterpieces, and Bruno Sacco does. But they only made 1,550 of them for the U.S. market, so it's pretty rare. Mercedes having a special edition, it's a little bit like John Houseman dressing up as a Spice Girl or something. It just seems tacky. I mean, this stodgy and humorless car company is not really set up to come up with sort of fluffy and whatnot special editions, but they did. This one is reasonably muted, so I'll give them credit for that. At least it's silver, that's not some sort of lime green special edition, and I think that helps a lot. I think I also did the special edition because this car was so long in the tooth in 2002. It had been out for so long, people knew the new car was coming, that this might have been a way to get them to sell a few more of them, so who the hell knows. It was the last SL that had a hard top and soft top system. The first SL was the 300 SL Gullwing that obviously didn't have a hard top soft top system, so it's not 100% historical, but that was an incredibly cool car. In fact, riffed on by Andy Warhol. It just became a cultural icon. It was basically a Le Mans car brought over to the United States by Max Hoffman, who decided to start importing European cars, and he lobbied Mercedes to bring that car over, to convert this SL racer into a sports car and bring it to the United States, and he did, and it was an instant hit, and it spawned years and years of SL Roadsters. This is a very long-term continuing product for Mercedes-Benz, and a very important one to their lineup, maybe more so in the past than today, but certainly important. After that came the 190 SL, which was a way for Mercedes to let poorer people get into the Mercedes market. Then you had the W113 Pagoda, which came out for, I don't know, like 4 years or something, maybe 5. How long did that car come out? 63 through 60, maybe more than that. Anyway, the Pagoda came out, and that was also a hit with the American buyer. In fact, it was made for the American buyer. Then the R107 came out, and that thing ran forever. I mean, that car is one that people... a lot of people my age, when you say Mercedes-Benz, that's one of the cars that they think of. That may be the first car that they think of. And that ran all the way through 1989, a very, very long... I mean, it was a vintage car in its final year of production. And then in 1990, out came this, the R129, and it was enormous, man. It was, this thing made such an impact when it came out. Power tops are pretty standard today, but weren't then. You had these, usually a power top was a thing you released in the front, pushed a button, and a couple of motors or cylinders brought it to the back. This was one of the first power tops that released from the front, hid the top under a tonneau cover and did it all with the touch of a button. And when you had one of those cars back in 1990 and you ran the top, it drew a crowd. I mean, these things were like spaceships. But of course, you know, a lot of makers followed suit, and now these tops are, well, not only are they commonplace, this is basically a collectible vintage car now, which is another thing that makes me absolutely suicidal. I used to think these cars were kind of were not very reliable. I thought they had a lot of little issues and problems, and I suppose they do, but you know, when Mercedes came out with the car that followed it, the R230 folding hardtop car, they showed us what an unreliable car really could be like, and it made this one just seem that much better. And as a result, these things picked up in value. They've been aging very well, and to me, and maybe to some others, I'm not going to say they're the last vintage Mercedes, because I don't think they are, because they do have some signs of, you know, the future Mercedes in them, the one that I don't like. But they do have a lot of the hallmarks of the vintage Mercedes that I do like, the true German nuts and bolts engineering. There's enough of it in this car, I think, to make it a collectible and an absolute future classic. And I think even to some extent, a shade tree collector mechanic type guy can maintain one of these cars with all of the internet resources that are out there, all of the used parts that are out there, and of course with a little bit of help from you know, YouTube University. So you know, they have aged well. The design has aged well, and I think they've become very, very cool cars. It uses, I tell you what, here's one of the strengths of this car, is it uses the underpinnings of the W124 sedan and coupe and convertible and wagon. One of the great Mercedes platforms that was incredibly reliable, a terrifically advanced suspension for its time, and a terrific basis for the underpinnings of this car. So that helped this thing a lot. All of these Silver Arrows were finished the same. They have one, look at the detail on this car, it's terrible. I told Andrew to get a better detail. Oh, God, anyway. They all use this special silver metallic paint called Silver Arrow Metallic. I guess that's a little bit on the nose. They all have these special two-piece alloy rims, silver and black leather inside, and special shiny aluminum trim. And the Silver Arrow thing is an historical Mercedes-Benz racing legend. There was a guy named Alfred Neubauer. He was the racing manager for Mercedes in the early 20th century. And the legend of the Silver Arrow is as follows. Essentially, back in 1934, they were running the W25 race. I mean, this was such a great time for racing. You know, this is when, you know, people died in horrific, they had leather helmets and they were vaporized. And I mean, this is when racing was a true dangerous pastime and professional pursuit. And the guys doing it were incredibly brave. But that's an aside. They had these cars, they were white. You know, every country back then had its own racing color. British cars were green, French cars were blue, and Mercedes at the time were white originally. Well, in 1934, and this again is the stuff of legend, there was a weight limit on the cars, and when they pushed this W25 on the scale, it was like 100 pounds overweight, and everyone's scratching their heads thinking, man, what the hell are we going to do? You know, the car doesn't have more than it needs. We've got to, you know, find a way to lower the weight without really affecting anything. And both Neubauer and his driver, a guy named Manfred von, oh God, if I could have Braustitch or something. I have a terrible time with German names. Both of them claim to have come up with this idea. It just surprises me Germans can be so petty. I thought they were much more austere than this. But anyway, they both claim that they came up with the idea of scraping the lead-based paint off the car the night before it would be weighed again for the final check-in, and saving enough weight to come up with, you know, a legal car. And also in the process coming up with this shiny aluminum car that would be called a Silver Arrow after it won the race, and become the color of Germany, and German racing is the silver from there on out. So take that as you will. That is the legend. That is what people say. I think that's even what Mercedes says. But in fact, there is some argument that it could be absolute horseshit. So either way, I guess if it's not true, it should be, and that's good enough to go on. So look, I know this is a sales pitch for this car, and it's probably not needed, but I'm going to do this really quick. Let's do the events of 2002, because it's pretty rare when I do it here that late. I've always got like Mark IIIs and, you know, Buick Wildcats. We're going back. Let's see what was going on in 2002. And there, of course, we have airplanes overhead, very slow-moving, loud airplanes. Anyway, 2002, firstly, was the year of the response to the 9/11 attacks. That's when America sort of went apeshit for a while, and, you know, you really couldn't blame us. You had the Axis of Evil speech from George Bush. You had the Department of Homeland. There's a rabbit. There's an angry, freakish rabbit. I'm going to pause for a minute and see what this thing's up to. Look at this creepy, terrifying, fearless rabbit. It's just waiting to sink its bloodthirsty teeth into me. Wait, man, they're supposed to be skittish. Go on, Rouse, into the woods. I chased after him, but I couldn't get to him, so we'll just keep going. Anyway, the Department of Homeland Security came out. You had Iraqi weapons inspections going on, and they were giving us the finger. You had the hunt for Osama bin Laden. I mean, it was just a year. You remember you're supposed to tape up your house with Visqueen and duct tape and stuff. You know, and everywhere you looked, just some terrorist was popping out of something with a bomb, and I guess that all went by the wayside, and now, well, we're not worried about COVID anymore. Now we're worried about the Soviets, and that's why I've got all my Soviet whiskey in me this morning. So, anyway, Jimmy Carter got the Nobel Consolation Prize. I can't help but feel like that was just, you know, remember they gave one to Obama and he hadn't done anything. I mean, at least Carter had done some humanitarian stuff and went out with hammers and started building houses for people. So you could give him some credit, but I really don't know why he had that coming any more than, you know, any Joe Blow on the street did. I think that's when we all started to realize the Nobel Committee was a little bit strangely political. The euro went into effect, monetary union. You know, all the, well, not all the countries of Europe, but a lot of them ditched their currencies and took up the euro, and that became a thing. Kmart filed for bankruptcy. They were like the biggest retail establishment at the time to do so. The DC sniper thing was going on. You remember there was that kid and that, you know, military guy, and they were driving around in a blue Caprice, which was like the last car you'd think of snipers using, but that's what they had. And they were capping people, and it took a while to catch them, but they finally did, and thank God. Also, Elizabeth Smart, if you remember her, she was kidnapped, and that was kind of a tragic, weird story. And of course, the Queen Mother died, so yeah, we were all very sad about that. Movies, you had Spider-Man, you had Die Another Day, another James Bond movie. You had Signs, kind of a weird movie with Mel Gibson. Minority Report, yet another interminable Tom Cruise thing, and The Pianist, you know, the feel-good movie of the year. Music, you had The Counting Crows, you had Red Hot Chili Peppers, you had Pink, you had Oasis, you had Creed, and of course Justin Timberlake doing his thing. So it was just a very, very interesting year for a lot of people, but not me. I don't remember what the hell I was doing in '02, but it probably wasn't much, and I imagine it was mostly based around intoxicants of some kind. So, but anyway, look, this was we're going to leap right back into the car, because it's silly to go on about this stuff when it's a It's an auction car for Andrew. You know, it just doesn't make sense to have a 40-minute video. Even if Andrew, by the way, is the worst human being on earth. I mean, without question, the worst human being you have ever met in your life. He is terrible. I will never forget we were going to see Jay Leno's garage. He won some kind of tickets for it. And we're going to fly out there. And he drew penises all over my boarding pass before we got, you know, he decided he was going to be in charge of the boarding passes. He went up and got them. He draws penises front and back, like 9 of them. And I have to hand this thing to this, you know, Homeland Security checkpoint lady guard who looks at him and looks at me like, what kind of an asshole are you? And I'm like, man, it's him. It's Andrew. It's just... Anyway, he's a guy that I would buy a car from, because if you're going to get a Mercedes, buy it from a guy who actually has a Europe, and there's more airplanes now flying lower. Wonderful. Wonderful. But anyway, if you're going to get a Mercedes, get one from a guy who has a European repair shop and mechanics on duty, because he, you know, probably has the wherewithal to make the thing nice before it goes. So, and I think he did on this. But I tell you what, I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I'm going to show the function of the soft top. Also, the sun is coming out, which really isn't helping us at all. And I may move the car back afterwards. So hold on for 1 minute. All right, here it is with the soft top up and in place. You can see it's the original black soft top fabric. Looks good. I believe that German Stay Fast material. You can always tell they're original when you see this little star on them. That's something that can't be duplicated with an aftermarket. Back windows are plastic. They're reasonably clear, a little bit hazy from the mist this morning, but looks pretty good overall. So let's give the top a run and see how it works. To do that, I'm going to fire it up. I like to get a lot of juice going through the electrics. Nice that it gives you that Mercedes U-boat as warning, U-boat as sinking warning. There's this red big square button right here next to the shifter, and that's the guy that's going to run it. Now, I'm going to warn you in advance. When these things release from the front header panel up here, these hydraulic cylinders, man, do they make a bang for reasons I don't know. And the longer it is that you don't run the soft top, the louder the bang. So I ran this yesterday. It may not be so bad, but let's give it a shot. So I go ahead and pull this back towards me and hold it. Lights up red. You can see the windows go down. It detaches from the back. Up comes the top cover. There's those bangs I was talking about. And down goes the soft top. And closes. And if you keep your finger on the button, for some reason the windows go back up. I don't know why. You'd have to ask a German. In reverse, you push this forward. Up comes that tonneau cover. Up comes that aluminum framed, very well designed soft top. It's going to bang itself into place up front. Suck itself down. Down goes the tonneau cover. And down goes the soft top. And again, if you keep your keep your finger on the button, the windows will run up. So there it is. There's the soft top operation in this R129. Let me get back into the car, and we'll keep going from there. All right, so I didn't have much luck getting out of the sun, but we're going to keep going anyway. So here it is. Look, the styling of this car is absolutely classic Roadster. You've got this long, low, drooping hood. It sounds like you got Peter throwing out giant steel girders or something over there. That's great. But anyway, you've got this long, low, swooping hood. You've got a raked back windshield. And you've got this nice, stubby little back end on it. You know, so it does have a sort of elegant and sporty look that befits the SL. This one being the Silver Arrow, you get all of the sort of AMG body kit stuff on it. You get the rear bumper and front bumper are AMG. stuff, as is the side skirt underneath the door. And again, those two-piece, pretty good-looking six-spoke alloy wheels with chrome lips that are special to the Silver Arrow. You get all kinds of special Silver Arrow badging as well. You also get some really classic and vintage Mercedes styling cues, like you get ridged taillights, which aren't super ridged, but they're ridged enough. And of course, that's a vintage Mercedes designed to keep snow and dirt and that sort of thing from covering the whole taillight. You get the SL 500 badging. In the beginning, they had that reversed. It was the 500 SL. You get a center brake light nicely integrated into the hood. You get a gas door here on the passenger side, as is common. Here you see that special chromy aluminum trim that only the Silver Arrow has. You know, the top of the door, the area on the tonneau cover, even the windscreen, the accessory windscreen is that color, so it's all kind of cool. You also get Silver Arrow badging on the fenders. You get the famous little Mercedes vent slits behind it. You get cross-drilled rotors as part of it, you know, and those big 18-inch wheels. Up front, you've got you know, you got a hood badge, you've got a hood star. That's the tri-point Mercedes star. One point in it, land, sea, and air. They're going to dominate on all of them. You have HID or xenon high-intensity discharge headlights, and frankly, your wallet is going to do a high-intensity discharge if one of those ballasts quit working. I know the early ones in these cars were pricey, but it is classic Bruno Sacco, understated and at the same time quite impactful, and that's part of what made him such a master at car design. So anyway, look, let's just get into this thing. We'll get into the trunk. And this is a good trunk. This is one of the last SLs that actually had a useful size trunk. You could fit a couple of golf club bags in here, which obviously almost every Mercedes driver needs. With the next generation, they kind of screwed the pooch on that one. You might get one set in. You're certainly not getting two. And that seems strange for Mercedes. What are the two things Mercedes drivers need? Gas stations and golf storage. So you see the special Silver Arrow mats that are black with the silver surround, all very nice stuff. Looks like this was a California car at one point, which is nice. You got a CD changer back here. Here's your front license plate holder. This is a good place to put your, you know, Red Hot Chili Pepper CDs and whatever else you need. Underneath here, you've got Mercedes version of a donut, which is actually a nice size spare. There's a little bag of tools, you know, everything looking good and proper in the way it should in here. And of course, nicely finished, as a car that probably cost close to $100,000 should. You know, back in '02 with everything nice and concealed, nice little foamy, carpety stuff everywhere, and the windscreen, when it's not being used, stored back here. So all very lovely. And this little thing, by the way, fits into here, so when you're digging into the spare tire or the tools, you can not have that coming down on top of you. Have a look under the hood. Release is down here. And the safety catch, this eludes some people, myself included, is here underneath the bottom area of the star. And I've told Andrew, when he details these cars, make sure the idiots who do it do the engine. And of course, this guy didn't. So the engine still is in drivable form. It's never been detailed. And I don't know, if you're selling a car, detail the damn engine. Anyway, this is an what the hell is it? I think an M113. This is a 3-valve per cylinder engine that came out in 1998, in part because of fuel mileage and in part because they thought it was better. But it was actually down on horsepower from the earlier 4-valve per cylinder M119, which some people prefer, but definitely is a little bit more problematic than these. So anyway, terrific engine either way. Mercedes V8s are pretty indestructible. They really don't need much in the way of mechanical work. It's just leaks and, you know, valve cover leaks or rear mains, that sort of thing. And that's why it pays to get one from Andrew, because he'll have sorted out all that stuff if it had any. By this time, they had 5-speed automatics. The earlier ones had 4 speeds. And of course, you could get a wide variety of engines in these cars. There was 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders, 12 cylinders, you know, all sorts of different crap you could get over the years. And I think the 8's probably the best of the bunch. You know, the 12 is great, but it's almost like maintaining a Ferrari. And even if the buy-in price is kind of cheap, the long-term care costs are not. These things do not, I believe, use any kind of hydraulic suspension. The 12 cylinders did. This one, I think, just uses pretty standard coil springs, front and back, trailing arms, fairly easy to maintain, and truly very simple underneath the hood. No real, you know, it's not a complicated engine bay, which I think is quite nice. But I'm sure, you know, at the end of the day, the mechanic's still going to find a way to charge you some real money for it. You see it has a couple of cooling fans up front. So anyway, there it is. I'm going to get all my crap inside the trunk now. I will point out really quickly, there is an articulated wiper on this car. It uses one wiper that sort of articulates out. And I see Andrew's missing a cap there on the wiper. And again, man, come on, give me the details. So I'm going to promise for Andrew that he's going to find you that cap if you end up buying this thing, unless it's some sort of galactic back order and that's why it's not there. Real quick also, this is interesting on this filthy windshield washer and headlight washer flow. This one doesn't have the headlights. You can see it's actually heated by engine coolant, and that's so it won't freeze over in colder climates. It's the little shit Mercedes does that works well. This also is a service position hood, probably one of the last from Mercedes. Oh God, I don't know why I'm doing it, but I am. God, I guess I have to show you. So if you pull these little tabs out, which I'm having a hell of a time doing, you can push the hood up into a service position, it's called. You see now it's going straight up and straight down. You can see the hood sponge insulator underneath now, but that will make it much easier for the mechanic to get under there, do some work, and really charge you a shit ton of money to do it. So very, very neat stuff. Let's get that back down. There it goes. And nicely closed. So I'm going to pause it there, get my crap in the car, and then we're going to have a look at the interior and go for a drive. So bear with me one moment. Alright, so let's have a look inside this thing. Now every Silver Arrow got this black leather with the silver inserts, and you know, again, a little bit gaudy for Mercedes, but I do think they managed to make it work, and it looks pretty good overall. Of course, it's a 2-seat Roadster, so you don't have any room for any Canadians in the back. You have infant place back there, no problem, toddlers and whatnot. You can stuff them under that windscreen. They'll be fine. They'll be poking around back there. Might have to put up something here. It'd be nice if Mercedes had given you a net between the seats so they couldn't reach around and grab you, but otherwise they'll probably be fine. You could have put one in here, but they moved the Bose subwoofer into that. You see it has the ports down there to come out. We'll go and look around on the other side. That's where we're going to find the book set. This was one of the first cars, if not the first car, to have the seat belts actually built into the seat, which worked well for not having to, you know, integrate it into the car around it. And Chevy very quickly picked that up for its trucks. This little compartment, yeah, there's a book set. Zero room for toddlers or infants. They've got more computer electronics and shit behind it. So, nice little spot to put a handgun or, of course, your book set. So, lovely stuff. And then in the map pockets here on the, you got all this sort of special wood. I think this is bird's eye maple. You've got the side airbags, that's silver contrasting leather. The seat switches, which are ensconced in black instead of wood, which I think is sort of sporty and unique to the Silver Arrow. And then, oh, look at this baby. He got some map pockets here, and Andrew has left us. Look at this sucker. All right, this is a fantastic road rage gun, I have to say. Appears to be a Smith & Wesson Model 29 44 Magnum with a 10-inch barrel. So I guess this is when you want to recreationally hunt elk with a pistol. This is the way to do it. And what a terrific road rage gun, I have to say. With that barrel length, you're going to have very little trouble aiming. And my God, I love Andrew. What a great piece to have in your map pocket. Very, very nice. You see on the door sills there, you've got Silver Arrow, you know, special edition badging, and all looking very, very nice. Let's get in and fire this thing up. Key is very traditional. It has a little switchblade key here, old school Mercedes. When you're a shark, you're a shark. When you're a jet, you're a jet. High torque starter, fires up, very nice. The car runs smooth, as you know these Mercedes V8s do. I do like the brushed aluminum, turned aluminum trim on the cluster. You know, it sort of brings back that 30s and 20s racing style that you saw in the Bentleys and the old Benzes. All very cool. Also appears to have little special turned aluminum knobs over all of the needle centers, so that's neat. There you see 60, about, I don't have 68,000 miles by the time I get back. You got a leather two-tone steering wheel, silver and black. And here's the stuff that I like, because this is still vintage Mercedes. You've got a traditional Mercedes light switch, which is all changed now, probably. It's off in the center. You've got city lights light up either side of the car, parking lights there. You got your full parking lights here, and your full-on headlights here. Pull once, you get your front fog lights. Pull twice, you get your rear. So that's a terrific Mercedes light switch. You also get the cruise control where it's been historically, and your wiper and headlight switch there. A couple of big knobs poking out at you to adjust the clock and do the dimmer. You know, it's just all very nice Mercedes stuff. Also has a power tilt and telescoping steering column, which still works fine and actually works with the memory seats on the car. Over here you've got a little place to put your registration or narcotics or switchblades. In the older versions, these would have phones in there. I'm glad this one doesn't. These two buttons are a little bit friggin' mysterious. It's typical Mercedes hieroglyphics. I think it works more when it's hot outside. So, you know, if it's like 20 degrees, you're running the heat, but it's a little too hot and stuff. You hit the blue button. The climate control has to be on. I'll do that. You hit the blue button, and that's going to let some outside air in to make it a little bit less stuffy. You hit the red one, and it's just going to be the superheated air. And look, man, you can correct me on this stuff, because they're like typical Mercedes. Yeah, there is debates over what these two stupid buttons do, and the owner's manual isn't entirely clear about it. I do think it's more for the, you know, it's a recirc switch, basically, but it's not. It's more than that, and it's more for when it's cold outside. Here's your automatic climate control. Works fine, digital in this year. You've got Mercedes-Benz, you know, you got your CD in the back. You got your, what do we got? You got, what's his face from Journey, Steve Perry. I remember that song. He was a little bit pussified without Journey. And behind here somewhere, if we can find it, we're going to, don't know if I tape eject. All right, there's your tape deck. So if you want to run a cassette, you can behind that guy. Down here, you got a trunk release. This turns off the motion detector. So if the car's getting towed, it's not going to set the alarm off. This is just a lock switch, hazard switch. Electronic stability program. That's your traction control if you want to turn that on and burn the rear tires. And the minute you burn the rear tires, it'll kick back on. And this is the roll bar that's part of the SRS system, basically, that when it feels that the body is flexing, that thing's going to shoot up at the speed of an airbag to give you rollover protection. And also a lot of guys drive around with that to try and look cool with an airbag, or sorry, with a roll bar. I'm not going to. Down here you've got more of that brushed and turned aluminum. You've got a leather two-tone shift knob. You've got Silver Arrow badging on the ashtray, all very nice. That's actually quite a violent ashtray for a Mercedes. The springs are a little bit rough. You got your power mirrors, you got your power top, you got your heated seats and your windows. You got a little roller thing here, which is also very vintage Mercedes, with a couple of cup holders, and all very nice stuff. So let me get my seatbelt on. And we're going to go for a spin. You see 5-speed. You also have a winter and standard position for the transmission that, you know, helps with your traction in varying conditions. Uses a recirculating ball steering, which, you know, is a nice stodgy setup. Not as responsive as rack and pinion, but it feels expensive, and it's good enough. So, I tell you what, I'm not going to wait for the gate to open because we've got sun. Real quick, I'll get up here because it's Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids. You got the working sun visors. Nice, good shape. The mirror case is in good shape. You've got your HomeLink garage door opener down there. This is auto dimming. This is early SOS. If it had the phone thing, that's like Mercedes' version of OnStar, where you get stern and angry German ladies wondering why you're bothering them. A different time zone. So I haven't seen that weird woman with the strange hat and the dog. She hasn't been around lately, but maybe I'm just leaving at different times. So I'm going to pause for a minute. We'll pick it up again at the end of the road. Yeah, so it's nice and peppy. Again, you got about 302 horsepower out of that V8, nice and smooth, the trans shift smooth. The car does exactly what it's supposed to do, and that is drive you down the road in tremendous smoothness with terrifically responsive steering and handling and a lovely feel. And frankly, it's friggin' better for its $90,000. I mean, these were not cheap cars, you know? I mean, they better deliver. So it really is more of an expectation than a, oh wow, it's really great. You know, well, it better be really great. I mean, that's, you know, the cost of entry sort of dictates that. You know, it's really lovely to drive. It is. I mean, you've got I've got the windscreen up, so it's cutting down on the buffeting a little bit, but you know, you get the outside elements in, you've got the 2 seats, you know, if you're driving this thing back then, you're either you know, you're like a retired bank president, or, you know, a guy who produces pornography for a living, or you own a nightclub, or, you know, you're a very successful pimp, or maybe you just are pretty good at selling insurance. And, you know, that's the thing with SLs, is they convey a certain panache onto their owners, regardless of what it is that their owners do. And truly, and this is more of a guy's car. You do see women driving them, but I don't think it's a woman's car at all. I think this is much more of a guy's car. So anyway, look, I've made this video way too long already. I know it's not going to work for Cars and Bids, but it'll do it anyway. This is an 02 Mercedes-Benz SL 500 Silver Arrow. One of 1,550. It has 67,000 miles. It's owned by Andrew, who owns a auto repair shop and is pretty good at getting cars in a nice way before he sells them. So, so you can feel pretty comfortable getting a car from this guy. Don't become friends with him. I do not recommend that. But certainly he's a good guy to buy a car from. So, yeah, don't call Auto House on this thing. It's not for sale there. I think they are taking in a Silver Arrow, but not this one. And otherwise, keep an eye. It'll be out on Cars and Bids, or Bring a Trailer. I don't know where the hell he puts it. Somewhere out on the internet soon. So thanks for having a look. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you with the next one. Hope to have something up pretty early next week. Take care. All right, here I am in Andrew's repair shop. I'm just going to ignore all the crap going on around me and very briefly point out the Silver Arrow hardtop with the special Lumichrome trim that it should have on a stand with the, it's all very nice stuff. So anyway, there it is. There's the hardtop, and we can move on.